Hello everyone and welcome to the Knowledge Pool, your source for everything regarding the rules of Magic the Gathering. Today we'll be going over all the new commanders from the Riveteers Rampage pre-constructed deck, which is the Giant Colors. Let's begin. Up first we have the cover command for the deck, which is Henzie Toolbox Torre. It's Giant Colors for a 3/3 legendary creature Debris Rogue. Each creature spell you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz. This Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. And Blitz cost you pay cost 1 less for each time you have cast your command zone from the command zone this game. So Blitz is an alternative casting cost for casting a creature that you cast a creature, it gains haste indefinitely. When it dies, you draw a card and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So there are actually a lot of things we could do here. The first thing we need to note is that the first time we cast Henzie from the command zone, we already have the 1 mana discount, so it's good for us to be casting him multiple times from the command zone. And what we need here is creatures that have either good ETB abilities, good leave the battlefield abilities, especially dice abilities, and leave us with an advantage each time. So first thing that comes to mind is the Kamigawa dragons, because they have an effect when they die. So this could be really good in this deck, like Atsushi. And we can also use stuff that has both an the battlefield and the leave the battlefield ability. There is a little neat trick we can do here to keep our creatures indefinitely in play with haste and the ability that when they die we draw a card. Again, when we see end step triggers, Sundial of the Infinite is the card we want. So we have Sundial of the Infinite, we have blitzed in some creatures. We can wait until the beginning of the end step when the trigger to sacrifice them goes on the stack. And then we activate Sundial of the Infinite and we end the turn with the trigger on the stack, which causes the trigger to be exiled, and we get to keep the creatures. And when they die, we still get to draw a card, which is very interesting here. Again, because we want to cast Henzie from the command zone as many times as possible, we can use a card like Myth Unbound that reduces the command attacks by 1, and so we can get very easy discounts. Another good cards in this deck are obviously Sneak Attack, because you can add as an alternative for our commander. Overall, I would say pretty interesting. Note here that only big creatures have Blitz, so 4 mana value or greater, so your small creatures won't have Blitz while Henzie is out. But that's fine, because generally the smaller creatures we don't want them to get into combat very often, but the big creatures we do. Also, a card like Greater Good is really good in this deck, because the creatures would die anyway through the Blitz, so might as well kill them earlier to get the card, and we'll also get 1 more card because of the Blitz ability. Next up we have the alternative commander for this deck, the Beamtown Bullies. It's 1 enchant colors for a 4/4 legendary creature Ogre Devil Warrior with Vigilance and Haste, and a tap ability that says target opponent whose turn it is puts target non-legendary creature from your graveyard onto the battlefield under their control. It gains haste, goaded at the beginning of the next step, exile it. Okay, this has been one of the most stock commanders around the community. It's a very mean commander. Let's see why. So Vigilance, Haste and Vigilance can already hit in when it comes into play, and not only that, but it can activate its ability also when you play it. But of note here, we can only use the ability essentially on an opponent's turn, and we can only choose an opponent whose turn it is. We cannot choose another opponent. And the ability has 2 targets, 1 the opponent and 1 the card in our graveyard. Normally both of the targets would have to be illegal here in order for the ability to do nothing, but if the creature leaves the graveyard, then obviously the ability does nothing. Interesting here is that you are not actually limited to activating the ability before the declare attack step, so you can activate it after combat to just give them the creature, but then it will be exiled. What this deck is meant to do is give an opponent a creature, they get to combat with that creature dies, and then you don't have to exile because it's no longer in play. And yes, it has to get into combat because you got it. I have already a video on go to fight here, but essentially the creature has to attack and has to summon someone other than you. So here you plug in all the mean creatures that are non-legendary with bad defeat effects, like the Leveler or Eater of Days, which either skip you 2 turns or they exile your library, so you can kill opponents very easily with this deck. If you want to have a little bit more fun with the deck, I say use big cycles from Ikoria or big creatures that you can dump in your grave with Faithless Looting and the stuff, and give your opponents the creatures to hit other players with, because that was the intent with the deck. Also, another very main card is Phyrexian Negator, because you had sacrifice many cards, and generally every creature with a bad effect you can give your opponent and they will have a very bad time. Again, very interesting design of a card. I think it would obviously be a little bit too mean for casual play, because you can necessarily kill opponents with one activation with a card like the Leveler. And the final commander from this deck is Jolene, the Plunder Queen. Again, cannot be used as a commander just without making this deck, because only 2 colors, it's 2, and Gruul Corvus is 2/2 legendary creature human warrior. Whenever a player attacks one or more of your opponents, that attacking player creates a treasure token. If you would create one or more treasure token, instead create those tokens plus an additional treasure token and sacrifice 5 treasures to put 5 counters on it. Okay, so the first ability triggers only once, no matter how many players your opponents attack, so they will only get 1 treasure. Also, you can get the treasure for attacking your opponents, but because of the second ability, which is a replacement effect, get 2 treasures essentially. So again, here you are trying to make a Gruul treasure deck, and there are many cards that support treasures, especially with the new set, and you also will obviously run effects like Zorn, effects that like Tireless Provision that give you more treasures for your land drops. You can make a really interesting Gruul sort of artifact style deck, or just a big green ramp deck. Again, if you manage to find a way to make a lot of treasures, Aggravated Assault is a card in Gruul that can be used very effectively to get infinite combat steps. This already gives you 2 of the 5 treasures you need to go infinite. If you find also a way to create many more treasures, you get more. There are a tons of cards in the new set that pay you off and create you more and more treasures, so it will be really interesting deck to build. I don't think it's very unique, because there are now many Gruul artifact type decks. This is just another one of them, and with a treasure focus. So these were the new commanders from the new Precon deck, Riveteers Rampage. Overall, Torre and Ken needs a rework because it doesn't actually work the way it's intended. You can check out Judge Dave's video for the full explanation. Bullies are a very mean deck, pretty strong. You can make it fun by just dumping a huge amount of big guys in the graveyard. And Jolene is fine. It's another blue artifacts deck with a treasure focus, but it's not really that unique in my eyes at least. Thank you all very much for watching. See you in the next video.